Welcome to Sleepless Philosopher, the place where old questions return, like soft waves in the night. Before we begin, ask yourself gently, where are you tuning in from? And what time is it there? Maybe it's late, maybe the stars are already out, or maybe your city is still awake and you're just searching for a quiet space in the noise. Wherever you are, you're here now. That's all that matters. Tonight, we drift into one of the most strange and unsettling ideas in all of philosophy, a thought that's like a whisper that won't go away. Nietzsche called it the Eternal Return, not a story, not a religion, not even a theory in the usual sense, but a possibility, one so haunting that it could make a person fall to their knees in despair, or rise with a strength they never knew they had. So get comfortable, let the world blur into the background. Let's begin with a question. Imagine this. One day, as you sit in your room, maybe reading, maybe just staring out the window, a demon slips in, not with fire or smoke, but with a calm voice. It tells you, this life, exactly as you're living it now, every breath, every pain, every joy, every awkward silence, and every stolen moment of beauty will happen again. Not just once, but again and again, eternally. Not just the highlights, not just your best days, all of it, over and over, forever. Would you cry? Would you scream? Or would you smile and say, yes? That question right there is the heart of Nietzsche's Eternal Return. Not a prophecy, not a scientific claim, but a test, a quiet, terrifying test of your life. And the more you let it sink in, the heavier it becomes. Now let's close our eyes a little and let time stretch out, because to understand the eternal return, we need to unhook ourselves from linear time, from clocks and calendars, from the illusion that life moves forward like an arrow. Nietzsche wasn't trying to scare us with this idea. He was trying to wake us. He saw people, so many people living on autopilot, working, waiting, regretting, hoping, thinking their real life hadn't started yet. But what if this life, the one you're in right now, is all there is? What if this is the moment the universe keeps choosing, again and again? Would you still postpone joy? Would you still hate your job, your body, your mornings? Or would you finally live as if every single moment had infinite weight? This was Nietzsche's challenge, not to depress us, but to push us, to live so fully that even if life came back to us 1,000 times, we would still say yes, not because it was easy, but because it was real. Let's slow the mind now. Let the breath be soft and even. In, out. The eternal return isn't like the comforting idea of reincarnation. It's not a cycle where you evolve into something better. It doesn't promise spiritual progress or new chances. It doesn't tell you that you'll be reborn as a tiger or a bird or a star. No, it's colder than that. It says you will live this life again and again, not a new version, this one, the same heartbreak, the same arguments, the same night you sat alone feeling like no one would ever understand you. All of it repeated endlessly. You might wonder, why would Nietzsche think of something like this? Because he didn't want philosophy to be just abstract thoughts. He wanted it to be a mirror, a brutal, honest mirror. He was trying to ask, if your life isn't good enough to repeat, then what needs to change? It's a painful question, but it might be the most important one of all. Maybe that's why most people avoid thinking about it. They escape into fantasies, distractions, addictions, because to face this truth, to really imagine living your exact life 1,000,000 times over, can feel like suffocating. But there's a strange twist. Nietzsche also believed that if a person could face it, could really accept it, then something powerful would happen. They would become free, not in a naive, happy ending kind of way, but in a quiet, heroic way. They would stop waiting for life to begin. They would stop blaming others, and they would live with full presence, full attention, full intensity. Because if this is the only life you'll ever live, and you'll live it forever, then there's no time to waste. There's only now, this moment, this breath. Your body may already be fading into that warm, weightless state, where breath slows, where the lines between waking and sleeping begin to blur like smoke in moonlight. And here, in this gentle twilight of the mind, we return once more to the idea we've walked beside all night. The eternal return, not as philosophy now, not as a challenge, not even as an idea, but as a rhythm, like your heartbeat, like your breath. Inhale, exhale, again and again. This is the rhythm of the cosmos, the rhythm of your own becoming. You are not separate from time. You are time, unfolding, recycling, remembering. And when Nietzsche asked if you would live this life again, he wasn't asking from above you, he was asking as you, because in his view, there is no self and world, no philosopher and reader, only one great pulsing unity playing itself through you, over and over. The sleep of the returning mind. Feel how your thoughts are now slow and wide, like the surface of a deep lake. This is the perfect place to ask the real question, not what is the eternal return, but this: who are you if this moment returns forever? Who are you when no one is watching, when your name is forgotten, when time resets itself, and all that's left is your breath? In this quiet, Nietzsche wants you to remember, you don't need permission to begin again. You don't need more time, more proof, more approval. You need only this, to open your eyes to what already is, to look around at your ordinary life, and whisper, softly, yes, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. The soul's final descent into rest. And now, even the words begin to fall away, even the thoughts behind the words, even the philosopher behind the thoughts, even the meaning behind the philosophy. There is only stillness now. You don't need to understand everything tonight. You don't need to fix your entire life tonight. You don't even need to remember this idea tomorrow. What matters is this, that tonight you heard, you were present, you showed up, and that is enough. Nietzsche once said, there is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. Let that be your lullaby, a little madness in loving your fate, a little reason in trusting the cycle. Let yourself fall asleep, not with answers, but with peace. A peace born not of forgetting, but of remembering. Remembering that you are the flame, and the spark, and the torch that carries itself through time, over and over, and still, you glow. The final whisper before silence. The philosophers will keep speaking, the stars will keep spinning, the questions will keep returning, but for now, you don't have to carry the weight. Let the universe hold it. Let the idea rest. Let you rest. Tonight, the eternal return is not a burden. It's a cradle, and you are safe inside it. So close your eyes and let this night return as many times as it wants. You'll be ready, because now you understand. And when morning comes, whenever it comes, you'll rise not as a stranger to your life, but as its author, again and again and again. Sleep well, thinker, and welcome eternally to yourself the gentle collapse of time. Let the last embers of thought cool now. You don't need to follow the sentences anymore. You don't even need to remember what the eternal return means. It has done its work. It entered your mind, and now it softly walks out the back door, leaving only echoes, soft as moonlight on skin. You might not even notice them, but your soul does. It always does. And in this hush, deeper than dreams, let time collapse in on itself. You are no longer listening for meaning. You are simply being, not past, not future, only now, and now, and now again, not as repetition, but as eternity disguised as stillness. This is your sanctuary, this moment, this breath, all of it belongs to you, the sacred return of breath. Inhale, slowly. Feel your lungs like ancient temples, filling with quiet air. Exhale gently. Feel your thoughts like worn-out travelers, leaving the station one by one. Again, inhale, like you're receiving a gift. Exhale, like you're releasing a lifetime. There is no rush. There is no goal. There is only presence. Each breath, its own lifetime. And in each one, a soft answer to Nietzsche's question, would you live this again? Yes. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not the pain. But this breath, this stillness, yes. Darkness is the cradle, the place where ideas rest, where wounds soften, where love hides until it's ready to bloom again. So don't fight the dark. Sink into it. Let it hold you like the arms of the universe itself. Let the silence wrap around your body like silk soaked in stars. You don't need to understand what happens next. You just need to trust that rest is holy, that sleep is not an interruption, but a return, and you are allowed to return again, and again, and again. Because what is sleep, if not the eternal return of peace, a final invitation? No more thoughts now, no more explanations, only this: you are safe, you are enough, you are allowed to rest. The night will hold your questions, the stars will guard your dreams, and Nietzsche, he'll wait on the other side of the dream, still asking, still smiling, still whispering that beautiful, terrifying question, would you live this again? And without words, your sleeping soul will smile and say yes, not because everything is perfect, but because finally you are here, and that is everything. And now, the thoughts are quiet. The philosopher has gone to sleep. Even the voice in your mind, the one that never stops, is tired now, and that's good, because everything you needed to hear has been said. Everything you needed to feel has been stirred. You've travelled across centuries, wandered through thought, and now you arrive at the only place that matters. Here, this moment, this breath, this calm, no more past, no more future, only you, wrapped in silence, cradled by darkness, held by the rhythm of a universe that returns, not to punish you, but to remind you that even in your sleep, you are a part of everything, and everything is part of you. You are not late, you are not lost, you are not broken, you are simply tired, and now you may rest. Let the eternal return do its dance in the background. Let it whisper in the soil, in the stars, in your breath, because tonight you don't need to carry it. Tonight you just sleep, softly, completely, eternally, home. Good night, dear wanderer. We'll meet again, in this moment, in this breath, in this forever, and maybe that's where peace begins. Still with me, let's go even deeper now. Let the outside world fade, your body, heavy like sand, thoughts, soft and slow. Nietzsche once wrote about a kind of human being he called the Übermensch, the overman, not a superhero, not someone with power over others, but someone who has power over themselves, someone who can say yes to life, yes to pain, yes to beauty, yes to the whole tangled web of existence. The eternal return was his test for that kind of human. He didn't think many could pass it, because most people live reactively. They do what they're told, they dream someone else's dreams, they fear death, but they also fear living. But the overman, he, or she, or they, has looked the eternal return in the eye, and said, if this life comes back to me 1,000 times, let it. I will live it so deeply, so fiercely, that even the pain will feel holy. You don't have to be fearless, you just have to be present. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to say yes to this bed, this night, this heartbeat. Right now, you're already living it. You've probably heard the phrase, time is a straight line, from past, to present, to future. That's how we're taught to see life. But Nietzsche challenges that. What if time isn't a line? What if it's a circle, a loop, a wheel that spins and returns, always back to the same point? He drew inspiration from the ancient Stoics, who also believed the cosmos repeats itself, like a great cosmic heartbeat. But unlike them, Nietzsche didn't present it as divine order, he presented it as a test of character. Because if you knew, truly knew, that you'd have to live this day, again and again, how would you live it? Would you still complain, still scroll through empty things, still delay your dreams, thinking you have more time? Or would you begin to see your life as something sacred? Not in a religious sense, but in the sense that every moment matters, because it never really ends, it keeps returning, and so the smallest choice, what you say to someone you love, what you eat, how you speak to yourself in the quiet of your own mind, suddenly holds infinite weight. It's like Nietzsche was whispering into the future, live as if you would live this day forever, because in his philosophy, maybe you already are. Let's be honest for a moment. Not every part of life feels worth repeating. There are shadows, loneliness, loss, things we've done, or failed to do, that we'd rather forget. Nietzsche knew this. He wasn't naive. He battled deep depression, physical illness, isolation, betrayal, and yet, he wrote The Gay Science, the book where Eternal Return is first introduced, not as a book of sorrow, but as a book of joy. He called it the joy of the highest affirmation. But how can joy come from imagining your suffering returning forever? Because Nietzsche believed this. To affirm life means to affirm all of it, even the parts that break us, especially those. He wrote, was that life? Well then, once more, it's defiant, it's raw, it's not the joy of comfort, it's the joy of resilience, of rising each time you fall, of choosing to find meaning, even when it hurts, even when it doesn't make sense. That's the dark truth behind Eternal Return. It asks you not to escape suffering, but to integrate it, to say, this too I can carry, this too is part of my story, and if it must come again, then let it, because I will come again too, and I will face it, again and again, with open eyes, and an open heart. Let your eyes be heavy now, your mind slow and dreamy. If you feel a little weight in your chest, that's okay, this is deep water, but we're floating together. Some thinkers believe Nietzsche didn't mean the eternal return literally, that he meant it as a psychological idea, a mirror held up to your soul. He wanted to shake people out of sleepwalking through life, to snap them out of the illusion that they could wait forever, to begin living. He once said, He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If eternal return gives us anything, it's a why. It asks, if this is the only life you get, and you get it again and again, what do you want it to be? What are you willing it to be? And if you don't like the answer, you don't need to collapse into despair. You need to begin again, right now, not in some distant future, not when things are easier. Now, this breath, this night, this soft quiet second, it's the start. Let's drift deeper now. Your breathing smooth, your body still, your thoughts softer than fog. Nietzsche knew that most people wouldn't say yes to their life. He even suspected that if someone could say yes to the eternal return, truly and completely, that person would be rare, radiant, like a comet across a dark sky. They would have made peace with their past. They would be unafraid of pain. They would not seek numbness. They would be alive and awake. And he believed that kind of person was the goal, not wealth, not power, not reputation, but becoming the kind of being who lives this moment with such depth, such courage, such intensity, that they would welcome its return, again and again, not with fear, but with the deepest yes. That is the soul of Nietzsche's idea. It's not a curse, it's a crown, heavy, yes, but beautiful. Let's imagine something. You wake up tomorrow, everything looks normal, but something feels strange, like you've lived it all before. The sunlight, the coffee, the awkward conversation, the exact same pause in a sentence, the moment someone says your name, déjà vu, maybe, or maybe, the eternal return. Now imagine that happens every day. Every single day feels like a perfect copy of a life you've already lived, over and over. Most people would go mad, but Nietzsche's point was this: if the idea of living your life over and over again fills you with terror, then maybe you aren't really living it fully. Maybe you're waiting for what? A sign, a miracle, a better version of yourself. But there is no better version, there's only this one, and the only way to pass the test of the eternal return is to make this life worth repeating, even if nothing changes, even if you don't get more time, even if no one notices. You live it intentionally, not perfectly, but deeply, as if each moment were a thread in a tapestry that never ends. You might be wondering, why would anyone want to live this life again and again? Nietzsche's answer: because if you could want that, if you could love your fate, what he called amor fati, then you would become truly powerful, not powerful like a king, powerful like a storm, quiet, ancient, and unbreakable. Amor fati means love your fate, not endure it, but love it. Everything you didn't choose, every failure, every scar, every night you cried when no one saw, not because you enjoy suffering, but because it's yours, and it made you. That's the test. Can you take the hardest parts of your life and say yes, let it come again, I can hold it, I can carry it, I can live it? That's not weakness, that's not giving up, that's strength, that's eternity, flowing through you. Let's drift into the stars for a moment. Imagine a universe so vast, so endlessly cycling, that every combination of atoms must eventually repeat, that every moment, every breath, every feeling, must one day come again. Some physicists even wonder about it, not in spiritual terms, but in the strange cold logic of infinity. If time is infinite, and matter is finite, then repetition isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Nietzsche might smile at that, because whether or not the eternal return is scientifically true, it still matters, because it makes you feel the weight of your life, the sacredness of even the boring parts. Even this moment, you lying here, eyes half closed, listening to a quiet voice in the dark, even this comes back, again, and suddenly, nothing is meaningless, not the silence, not the pain, not the waiting, all of it echoes in eternity. If you've made it this far, you're stronger than you think. You've stared into the deepest philosophical mirror, and you haven't looked away. That's rare. Most people would rather numb themselves, turn up the noise, scroll past the question, but not you. You listened, you considered, you asked yourself, if this life comes back, would I want it? And maybe, you're beginning to see, the answer doesn't have to be yes yet, but you can begin building a life that someday you'll want to repeat. A life of depth, of love, of presence, not perfection, not fame, just meaning. That's the fire Nietzsche wanted to light in you. Not fear, but courage. The courage to live your truth, even if you're the only one who understands it. Because in the eternal return, you'll meet yourself again, and when you do, will you be proud, or will you wish you had woken up sooner? Let this final part rock you gently toward rest. Let the weight of eternity feel like a warm blanket, not a burden. The eternal return is not a command, it's an invitation to live, to feel, to choose, to forgive, to begin again, not just in the next life, but in the next moment. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to be here,
now, breathing, soft, still, open. Say yes, not to the fantasy of a perfect life, but to the reality of this one. Say yes, to the heartache, to the joy, to the strange quiet hours between midnight and morning. Say yes, to this breath, to this body, to this fragile, beautiful story. Say yes, as if your life were a prayer whispered into eternity, because maybe it is. Good night, wanderer of thought. Sleep gently, and if this night returns to you 1,000 times, may you greet it with peace. You've made it, dear thinker. Through the spiral of Nietzsche's haunting idea, through pain, peace, wonder, and stillness. And now we arrive not at an ending, but at a soft beginning that never ends. Because that's the truth of the eternal return, isn't it? There is no final scene, no final breath, no curtain drop, only circles, only spirals, only the same wind brushing against your cheek, in another time, in another life, but always here, always now. Nietzsche never gave us a clear answer. He didn't tell us whether the eternal return was real or metaphor. He didn't write a guidebook. He left us with a question, a dangerous, beautiful question. Can you live in such a way that you would want it to happen again? Not once, but forever. And if the answer is no, then your work isn't to despair, it's to begin, gently, honestly, quietly. Maybe you start with a small decision. You look someone you love in the eyes and say what you've been afraid to say. Maybe you forgive yourself for all the lives you didn't live. Maybe you decide, finally, to give today your full attention, not because it's special, but because it's yours. This is your life. And Nietzsche's whisper through the veil of philosophy is this: make it worth repeating. Not for him, not for God, not for glory, but for you. Because one day, when the door opens again, and the life begins again, and the same sun shines through your window, you'll remember this night, this breath, this voice, this choice, and maybe, just maybe, you'll smile, and you'll say, yes, let it return. I lived it with everything I had. That is the quiet triumph of the human spirit. Not applause, not fame, just a simple, sacred yes to everything. Even this moment now, you, still and slow, drifting into sleep like a leaf on a still lake. This moment too is part of it. And as your breathing softens, as your thoughts dissolve like sand in water, know this: you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not alone in your questions, you are simply human. And that is enough. Let eternity take care of itself. Tonight, all you need to do is rest. Fall into the great spiral of sleep, and if the night returns 1,000 times, may it find you ready. And still, you drift. Not backward, not forward, but inward, into that soft spiral within the soul, the one no map can find, no clock can measure. Here, even thought becomes too heavy, so you let it go. You let go of the philosopher's question. You let go of what it meant, what it wanted from you. You even let go of the need to understand, because in this place, there is no need for answers, only presence, only peace. The eternal return no longer feels like a challenge, no longer a riddle to solve. Now it is simply a rhythm, like waves that return to the shore, not because they must, but because it is their nature. So let your breath be the wave, rising, falling, returning, and in this rhythm, feel how your body loosens, your thoughts slow, your spirit settles into stillness. The philosopher has become the dreamer, and the dreamer now becomes the sky. You find yourself walking through a garden now. It is night, but it is not dark. There is a pale blue glow to everything, as if moonlight had softened into perfume and settled on every petal, every leaf, every path. You walk barefoot, the grass is cool, your body is light, and though you are alone, you do not feel lonely. Here, in this garden, everything returns. A blossom opens, and opens again. A breeze moves past you, then circles back, whispering the same gentle truth in a slightly different language. There are no straight lines here, only circles, only spirals, only things that know how to come back home. You reach an old marble bench under a fig tree. The air smells like lavender and memory, and as you sit, a single sentence floats into your mind like a feather. Live as though you'd live it again. You smile, not because you understand everything now, but because for the first time, you don't need to. You feel something stronger than understanding, peace,
and that's enough. Time no longer marches here. It doesn't tick. It doesn't rush. Time here is like silk. It folds softly around you, wrapping you in its warm quiet. You look up at the sky. There are no stars, only soft golden patterns that pulse in and out, like the breath of the universe itself, each pulse a lifetime, a moment repeating. But instead of fear, you feel comfort. What if there is no one shot at life? What if there is no too late? What if everything lost returns? What if even your regrets have a return ticket? In this moment, you stop chasing, you stop proving, you stop running, and time, sensing your surrender, sits beside you like an old friend, ready to tell you a story, not to impress you, but to keep you company as you fall asleep. You leave the garden behind, not by walking, but by willing, and suddenly you're there, a long hallway lined with golden lanterns, each one flickering like a heartbeat in a jar. At the end of the corridor, a door. It opens without a sound, and inside, a library that stretches far beyond the eye. Endless shelves of leather-bound silence, dust that dances mid-air, like time itself is suspended. And yet, nothing feels old, everything feels alive. You take a few slow steps forward. The floor is smooth beneath you, the scent of ink and candle wax gently filling the air. You run your fingers along the spines of the books. Some are labelled with your dreams, some with your fears, some with questions you never dared to ask out loud, and some have your name, over and over, but each time written slightly differently. Your name from another time, from another return, from another version of you. You reach out and take one of the volumes. It opens to a random page. The handwriting is familiar. It's yours. And the line says, "Tonight I finally rested without guilt." You close the book, smile softly, and slide it back into its place. You didn't know until now how long you've been tired, how many versions of you have needed this rest, how many lifetimes you've longed to hear this quiet. Part 5. The flame that watches without burning. As you turn from the shelf, you see it. A small flame, floating mid-air. It doesn't flicker. It listens. It watches. And you know, without anyone needing to say it, that this flame has seen everything. All your returns, all your triumphs, all your falls. And still, it burns calmly. Not in judgment, not in praise. Just there, steady, eternal. You approach it slowly, and the flame leans toward you, as if recognizing something ancient in your presence. You don't ask it questions. You don't speak. You just sit beside it. Because sometimes, the presence of something eternal is enough to calm the soul. You breathe in its warmth, and with every breath, you feel lighter. The worries of this life, the noise of the day, the weight of your name, all of it lifts, like ash, like dust, like things no longer needed. And as your eyes begin to close, you realize you are not ending, you are arriving. And now, dear wanderer, you've seen enough. You've walked through gardens that remember, through libraries that hold your name, beside flames that watch without judgment. You've let go, you've drifted, you've returned, and now you are exactly where you were always meant to be, not in the future, not in the past, but here, still, safe, soft. Let everything fade now. The names, the stories, the ideas, even Nietzsche, who's been whispering to you all night, even he fades now into quiet, because the eternal return does not ask you to understand it. It only asks you to rest in it. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to be anything other than this. A body breathing, a soul floating, a thought finally letting go. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not broken. You are simply ready, ready to sleep, ready to return, ready to be held by the night. So close your eyes completely now. Let the darkness wrap itself around you, not as fear, but as peace. Let the silence sing to you, not with words, but with warmth. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to forget. You are allowed to feel nothing at all, because even in the nothing, you are deeply loved. So sleep now, softly, endlessly, and when you wake, whenever that may be, know that the world will still be waiting, just as it always was. Welcome home, sleepless philosopher. You made it. Good night.